Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Lyfe Choyces Podcast.
Yeah!
Welcome back, everybody, to the Lyfe Choyces Podcast, where we discuss mindset, success, the good and the tough aspects of going after your passions. Today, we welcome James Strine to the podcast. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Bradley.
Do you prefer James or Jimmy?
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Grandfather
perfect.
used to call me Leroy.
Leroy. Okay. So, James, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We have known each other for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Our paths have crossed in our history, and then through the company Roxy's Pub, we became more familiar with each other. Mm-hmm. So can you kind of give us a little quick backstory as to how you became a chef in West Palm Beach?
West Palm Beach, it was quite some time ago. I think I moved down here in 95, 96, late 95. I was washing dishes up in Frederick, Maryland, at a restaurant, family-owned restaurant called Gladchuck Brothers. And the reason I started working there was because I didn't graduate high school, so I had to go to summer school. And my parents were like, it's your fault. You didn't do it, so figure it out. We're not going to pick you up. We're not going to drop you off, so figure it out. So I got my brother, whatever, to drop me off at school. And then afterwards, I had to wait around to get a ride home. So I got a job. Knocked on the back door, said dishwasher wanted. It's like I just need, 5-6 hours a night. And started washing dishes. Cook never showed up, typical story of the kitchen life. Cooks never showed up. And so he needed me on the salads. So I made just natural progression from there. And John Gladchuck, the owner / chef, had ties to Palm Beach. He knew the chefs of the Breakers back in the 70s, Petite Marmite, which is now Renato's, which is one of the oldest restaurants in Palm Beach. And he was the executive chef of the Everglades Club. So he still had connections down here. And it got to the point after 2 years of working with him where he's like, yeah, I can't show you anymore. He's like, it's like limited to this restaurant. He's like, do you want to continue learning how to cook? I was like, sure. Got nothing else going on. Let's get me out of here. So he made some phone calls to some old colleagues and got me in touch with Chef Raditz at the Breakers Hotel. And through that, the Breakers, for the first time in like 20 years, reinstated, maybe not 20, probably like 10 or something like that, reinstated the apprenticeship program and then brought me on as one of the first apprentices in several years, which is a 3-year program through the ACF, the American Culinary Federation. And it was myself and this other gentleman, Bob, and we were just the bitches of the kitchen. Yeah. I was there from 9 a.m. until 12 o'clock at night for probably 2 years straight.
Wow.
And
this was, sorry to interrupt, this was after high school, you said?
Right after high school.
Right after high school.
Yep.
So you're like 18?
17.
17?
Yep, 17. When I moved down here when I was probably just turned 19, maybe.
Wow.
And worked for free because I didn't understand how anything worked. I clocked in, and they was like, well, be sure you clock out when you go work for banquets. Okay. I just figured there was somebody there keeping track of my hours, and I didn't even know how much money I made. So apparently I had to fill out a special time card every time you worked. So I probably worked about 8 hours a day for free for about a year and a half until somebody was like, what are you doing? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, they saw it as free labor.
But what were you doing to pay your bills?
I mean, I was living in school housing. And then I had they got me in a place, Panther Park is off 6th Avenue South. It's just a garbage place with a bunch of, it's when they had housing for Palm Beach University for the schools. And they just let me in. So I stayed there for a little while. And then I got a roommate, or I told him how much I hated it because it was just a disgusting place and just degenerates everywhere. And I was trying to get away from that, which is one of the main good reason why I came down here. And so I moved in with this other gentleman who worked at the Breakers. And I mean, rent was cheap 25 years ago. I'd pay like $400 a month.
A little different than now.
Yeah. I didn't have to pay for food because I ate at the Breakers every day. Even on my days off, I'd put my whites on and go to the cafeteria. What are you doing here? You're off. Oh, I didn't notice. While I'm here, I might as well eat something.
I mean, that's a smart move right there.
Yeah. I mean, I was poor.
Yeah.
I was really poor. All I did was work.
That's it.
That was it.
And so that first chef that you worked with in the situation where you were out of high school, you had to do summer school to graduate, and you just decided to like, obviously take a job to fill the hours that you were waiting to get a lift home. That chef, are you still in contact with him?
Absolutely. He's still in my hometown. My mom still lives up there. So every time I go back, I visit him. And it's crazy because last time I was up there, I went in to say hi. It was the middle of the lunch rush. I mean, I knew it was a lunch rush. Just go in there, whatever, and sit down, get something to eat at the bar, whatever. And he'd be like, hey, do me a favor, start cutting those mushrooms. Do me a favor, can you do this? And then I'm just 20 minutes later, I'm back working on the line with him. So
that's
hilarious. It's great.
I mean, I think that's wonderful because I know you as a person. You're a very modest individual, even though you have, a lot of accolades and you have a very good reputation in South Florida as a chef. I think that's funny how the first mentor, I guess you could say, that you had in the kitchen doesn't give a flying fuck.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean?
Not at all.
To him, you're still that guy that knows how to cook because he taught you.
Oh, yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, I think we're all grunts.
Right.
I'm always going to wash dishes. I mean, you're never too good for any job in the kitchen. And if you think that way, fuck you.
Well, you shouldn't be there.
Right.
Yeah. I think I've shared this story with you. I share it with many people. When I started cooking in kitchens, if I went to a new restaurant and they were going to hire me for like a line cook position, I would actually request to be put in the dish pit first. And that was simply because I knew that someone in the kitchen was going to feel like they were getting passed by for the position I was getting.
Right.
And in order to like stop any animosity from happening, I wanted them to see that I'm willing to do the dish pit.
Right.
And I would do that for like a week. And then, the chef would then say, okay, he's moving to this spot. And there was no friction after that because people saw how hard I was working in there, but then found out I had knowledge to do line cook. So it made it easier. And yeah, you're never above anyone else.
No. There's that old story of, was it Grant Achatz, Alinea and all that stuff when he went to go apply at French Laundry, when he went to go, start his career. And it's like he walked in and he's like, there's this guy just mopping and cleaning the kitchen. He's like, hey, I'm looking for the chef. And why, who are you? And blah, blah, blah. Let me see if I can find him, just like shooting the shit with him. And turns out he was like, it was Thomas Keller.
Exactly.
It was a chef. And he was cleaning his own kitchen. And he's like, and that was my first experience jumping into that world.
Right.
It's like, wow, okay, so he's not too good to do that.
It speaks volumes when the lead person is doing what we consider the bottom rung work. And Thomas Keller actually said the same thing to Grant that your chef said to you, which was, I've taught you as much as I can. You need to go on somewhere else to do what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And I think that's an excellent thing, or that's an excellent message to receive from someone that you clearly respect because you value what they've taught you.
Right.
But even more to the point, they're literally saying, okay, it's time for you to go after your own journey because I can't take you further.
And the crazy thing is they don't do that for everybody. I mean, I know you've seen it. I see it in cooks all the time. It's like, all right, you're completely happy just doing this for the rest of your life. And I mean, you can see it. You don't see any, motivation or any drive to do anything else. And I mean, those are the people that I still treat them well, but all right, you do you,
they're
just do a good job.
They're happy being complacent.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate because
there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
A lot of them out there.
In any field, it doesn't matter what you do for a living, you should always strive to be more, to become more.
Yeah.
But some people, we do need those people that are happy at that level because they're always going to show up to work every day and get the job done. And if you're the person that's wanting more and getting more and creating a larger, let's say, restaurant or following, then you do need those people to be there, but you should want them to elevate up.
Totally. I want to see everybody grow, but if you're not going to put the time and the effort into it, why am I going to?
Right.
It's one of those things. I mean, I don't want to say it's a sad thing, but it's just just a fact of life. Some people just don't care. I don't know. It's not that they don't care. They're just, I'm good.
They're happy there.
Yeah.
And that's a strange thing for me because even as like a young teenager, I always questioned, like, I'd always excel at a job. Someone would hire me, and I would be on the next position right quickly because I didn't want to stay there. How someone doesn't want to move forward is confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, it was, it's a sad thing to say, but as a young cook, money was the motivation. When I started cooking, I was making $5.10 an hour. It was awful, but it was enough to live back then. Not by, you had to scrounge for this, that, and the other thing. If you wanted to have any,
fun,
extracurricular activities, exactly. You had to get creative with it or save money. But money was always a driving force coming up when you were not making that much money, just to have a better life. But now, I cooks get paid very well. I mean, they get paid, if they work a good amount of hours, they get paid just as much as the chef.
Well, I think it's like, the visibility of what we do for a living now is a lot different. Food Network.
Oh, yeah.
I'm drawing a blank. Food Network and other TV shows have put the spotlight
Top
on
Chef,
us.
the Final Table, Chef Show, all that good
so
stuff.
Netflix, all the different platforms have us as rock stars, and then we've always lived that life. That's the way we've lived since we were in the kitchen.
People love chefs.
Yeah, it's a community area, the cooking. And so because of all the celebrityism behind being a chef, it's actually put more value on us, which is nice. Because there was a time a long time ago where, what do you do for a living? And it'd be like, oh, I'm a chef.
Oh, you're a cook. You're a cook.
Like you were looked down upon. Now it's like, oh, you're a chef?
See, I still say, what do you do? I cook.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't go into work and chef all day,
No, dude.
I'm a cook. That's what I do.
People literally, some people introduce me as my job, like the fact that I work on a yacht. It's like, oh, he's a private yacht chef. And it's like, nah, I cook, I try. I do a little this. And people are like, what? And I was like, well, I don't have 50 people working with me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sitting 600 people on a Saturday night. So you can call me a chef because I cook. Like, I'm not saying I don't know how to cook, but I'm just making food.
Right.
That's the way I've always looked at it.
You always have it like, I mean, you know me for a while. I don't talk about myself. I don't really care. I just do whatever. But John says it all the time. Like when we do open up this new project, he's like, you're going to be the one out talking to people. I'm like, fuck, man, I don't want to. He's like, I know you hate it, but you're really good at it.
Yeah.
And I know I am, and I just don't like to do it because I'm not that outgoing sometimes. But when we do like events and stuff like that, that's when it just like that's when it clicks. Like I just start getting talkative and blah, blah, blah. Talking about the food. It just gets you energized and amped up about it.
Well, you've been in the spotlight before because the award you won, was it at the Food and Wine Show here in West Palm?
Which one?
It was a long time ago. Might have been one of your first awards.
I don't know.
You don't know? Because I know there's a couple.
Yeah. I mean, nothing really. I mean, nothing silly, nothing crazy. But I got Best Chef Palm Beach County.
There you go. I mean, that's nothing to like bow your head about.
Right.
Like, that's a big thing.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I mean, we did there was all competitions all over the place that I would always enter, or they would, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Yeah, cool. Let's go have fun. You know? And the Chef versus Chef down in Del Rey, Eric Baker from Rebel House. He had Maisie's. He was a chef at Max's Harvest at the time. And those were fun. Yeah. They were after hours. They started at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and it was all industry people would just show up. I think it was a competition of like 16 chefs, and then just boiled down to the last two. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going up against JT from Sassafras, John Thomas, a tremendous cook. I mean, that kid's talented. He's a really good cook. And he was at 32 East at the time. Went up against him with Battle Alligator. Oh. And that was fun. I mean, we had to break down a whole alligator, and it was a lot of fun. And that's the stuff I thrive on. I mean, I love the competition of it. I love it.
Well, it's camaraderie amongst people that you know within the community of the city that you're in. Mm-hmm. You know, because as you develop your skills, and like you said, you've been here since you were 19, and you've developed these skills over time, and other chefs coming, whether they're coming in at an older age or coming in at a younger age, everyone's coming in here, and it's a fun skill to have because yes, every day you might cook, but not every day has to be cooked the same way. Right. And then when you get to be in a forum where there's other people where like you're friends with them, you joke around with them, but then, hey, this is competition, motherfucker. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm bringing it to the table right now. So that's pretty intense and fun at the same time.
Yeah. It was like, that's how I learned how I know how all these shows work, these competition shows is like 5 hours before the competition, like they'd call you, all right, this is going to be the ingredient. Yeah. All right. So you start wrapping your head around it, thinking about what you can do. And the first one we did was it lobster or sweetbreads? I think it was lobster. And I was going up against some chef down in Del Rey who was on Hell's Kitchen. And he came in like third place in Hell's Kitchen. Yeah. And I was like, shit, like this kid's like, I guess he's legit. Yeah. So I was kind of like nervous about it. Went Went in within 7 minutes. I had 3 plates already done in front of the judges, like crudos and appetizers, like all sorts of stuff. And I mean, you just saw his face just went
Done.
blank.
Yeah.
And I mean, he didn't even stick around for the awards or
Wow.
he just gathered his shit and he just left. I was like,
Yeah.
really? It's like, okay. So that's what this is.
Yeah. Sometimes people just crumble under like the actual competition aspect of it.
Oh, and that was a huge confidence booster too.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
for
all right,
sure.
who's next?
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
keep going.
After that, it's easy, right?
Yep. Yep.
So it's interesting because being a chef is not easy.
Not at all.
The hours are difficult, and the lifestyle is hard.
It is a lifestyle.
It absolutely is because, like I said before, rock and roll kind of lifestyle is kind of similar. Like for us, because we work late, then we go out and party. We don't really get a lot of rest, and we have a lot on our shoulders because people think, oh, it's just cooking. It's not a big deal. It's to us, like, yeah, it is just cooking, but at the same time, if you're not doing consistent cooking, the restaurant's not going to do well.
Right.
So how did you go through that kind of stress or emotion while you were learning?
I actually took a step back. When I was at the Breakers, I made it up to, they opened up Echo. I went to Echo, and I hate saying I was the chef there, but just by default, the chef, the executive chef at Echo and the Breakers had a falling out, and he just packed up his chips and said, "Fuck off, I'm done." But he was the guy who didn't share recipes. He came in early, made all the sauces, did all the butchering, and then the line cooks just came in and
Put
cooked
it together.
And when he left, there was a bunch of, there was some nervousness in the restaurant. Like, what are we going to do? And I was a young, hungry cook with a notebook.
Yeah.
Like that. I wrote absolutely everything down. So I was like, "Chef,
Yeah.
like I might know a thing or two about this."
Yeah.
And I did a tasting when I was probably 23 or something like that. And like, wow, he knows how to cook this food. So I by default, I became like the kitchen manager.
Okay.
And I was the only white guy in the kitchen. Everybody else was Vietnamese, Thai, Chinese. We had a dim sum chef in there, called him Master. No English whatsoever, but he made all the dough, made the fillings, all the dim sum, which was ridiculous. And then they brought somebody else in to be the chef, and I was just like, eh. So I switched venues, went to the steakhouse, didn't like it, took a step down from being sous chef at this steakhouse because I was like, I don't like going to meetings. Like, I'm too young. I don't want to go to meetings. I don't want to walk around with a clipboard. I don't want to deal with the labor. I don't want to do any of that. I want to cook. So I took a job at the seafood bar, and it was just worse because I knew I took a step down, and then I was like, it wasn't the environment I wanted to be in anymore. And, things happened, and that's when Daniel Boulud was opening up Cafe Boulud.
Okay.
And I went and I did a stage at Cafe Boulud, and I'll never forget, I was in the back and I was shucking fresh chickpeas, and here comes Anthony, Paul Leone, Nick Villardo, all the big ups of the Breakers doing a tour of the cafe kitchen. I just dropped all my shit and I ran around the back, and the chef was like, initially, like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then he was like, he was like, "They don't know you're looking to leave, huh?" It's like, of course not. Not at all. So I took a step back, and I took a garde job in a French kitchen just to get back to cooking.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do, was just cook. And I did that for years, and then just worked my way up and just went from there.
That's crazy. Like, not a lot of people are willing to take a step back or even admit that they don't want the position that they're being given.
Right.
And to have that kind of self-awareness at still a young age is quite impressive.
I could have stayed at the Breakers and continued. There's people still there from when I was there, and they're making great money. They get 4 months off a year vacation from accrued time off, and making 6 figures, loving life. But it wasn't for me. So I wanted to go work garde in a fancy French kitchen, and it beat the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's not real life. This is real life.
And for anyone out there watching, garde is the cold salads, the cold apps. That's a station. Most kitchens are defined by French terms.
Yes.
That's just where, like, we've said cooking has come from, is the fine French cuisine. So a lot of the terminology is French. To elevate yourself to the level where, you kind of got to the point where you could go to any restaurant you wanted. What did that do for your self-confidence?
Nothing really. I never looked at it like that. I never, I always knew, like, I always, when it came to, I had people approaching me all the time, like, hey, we're doing this. Miami was big because I did a competition in Miami, met a bunch of people, bunch of chefs, and I was a newcomer. Like, nobody knew who I was because I was supposed to do the event in DC, and then I moved down here, and he was like, well, I'm doing Miami, so why don't you just be a part of that? So nobody knew who the hell I was, but they're like, who the hell is this kid? Like, look at this fucking food. And I forget where I was going with that.
Self-confidence.
Oh, yeah. And so I met a lot of people in the Miami circuit, so I would always get calls and emails like, hey, we got this job coming. So I took still to this day, I'm open about it. Like, I will take any meeting. Like, hey, we're thinking of doing this. Anything is worth a conversation. Right. And it was a big confidence booster because you knew, like, I could go anywhere, but I was happy, getting pans thrown at me. I don't know why. It was a very destructive environment, but
it's strange.
I thrived in it.
Yeah.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's strange how most kitchens are a bit more rough. I think maybe today might,
not anymore.
Too many sensitive people in the
anymore.
world today. But when we were growing up through kitchens, you almost wanted the chef to get angry at you because then
they were paying attention.
You knew they were paying attention to you. So you knew that, okay, I'm on his radar.
Yep.
If he's yelling at me, that means he's looking at what I'm doing tonight.
And if I'm not doing it up to his standards, he wants me to do it better. So I'm going to do it better. Throw away my 9 pan of chives that I just spent half hour cutting. I'll start over,
What do you think would be some advice for someone that would want to become successful in that industry, but isn't quite sure if they can handle the roughness of it?
Try it out. You never know.
Yeah.
I never thought, I grew up a little punk. I didn't like people. I hated authority, all that stuff. I never thought I would deal with it, or it never even crossed my mind like, oh yeah, I'm going to put up with this. But it was one of those things that I thrived on it. I really did. I hated it. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. I would never do it again. But at that time in my life, it's exactly what I needed.
A little structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's what a lot of people are, a lot of younger people today are missing out on what that structure is. Obviously, because this right here, podcast, YouTube, Instagram, social media is such a huge thing, and it has such a capability of becoming successful that you can work for yourself. The structure that you would earn from going to school, that you would earn from working in a kitchen, is kind of lost on a lot of people now because they're getting to the point where they just start working at home and they're able to make money without going anywhere.
People nowadays, in my opinion, they just want instant gratification,
which is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've been invited to Top Chef twice.
Okay.
The first time I was at Cafe, the DB stood behind it. So did my video, all that crap. And I was set to go. Like I was in for the first season of Top Chef. And but my daughter was being born. So I decided to stay home.
Priorities.
Yep, I did not go. And then I got invited again later on down the line and did the interview, did the video, all that stuff. It was another friend of mine that I met in Miami. He was like, I want you to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I just, after the interview, I was like, I don't know. This isn't me. I'm not that guy. Because I was like, oh yeah, talking about the interview was all about being in the kitchen and all that stuff. I was like, well, tell me how people view you. Do you yell? Do you do this? Do you have an attitude? I was like, all right, you're just looking for a character now.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that guy.
They're looking for the drama.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And let's be honest, drama sells. That has never not been there since the beginning of TV, movies, everything. Drama sells tickets.
Yep. And drama's in the kitchen every fucking day. Every day.
It's just part of it.
Yeah. And I don't want to manufacturing it. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
That's just dumb.
It feels gross almost to me, because it's like, we love what we do for a living, and to cheapen it by throwing that fake drama into it isn't necessary when, like you said, you just know you're going into work today, something's going to fucking happen.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say. And you said it. Like, that's why I love doing it, because you have no idea what's going to happen. Like the day we did our filming, got shut down by the goddamn fire department.
That was hilarious. Any of you that have been following Lyfe Choices for the past couple of years, we did an episode where we went into the kitchen at Roxy's Pub. And I shit you not, we were sitting there waiting to start, and all of a sudden it was the fire inspector?
Yep, fire inspector.
Walks into the restaurant because of whatever reason. He was doing his checks.
Solid fuel. Yeah, it was just a nightmare.
And it put us back like an hour or so in our filming, and that's it's hilarious because it doesn't even have to do with the cooking.
No,
the drama happens whether it's like servers, bartenders, managers.
Didn't order this, didn't order that,
or maybe you did order it, but
coolers
the delivery guy didn't come in.
Gas goes out.
So many different things. Like why do you need to manufacture the drama when there's so much raw drama happening every day? And
you turn into, jack of all trades. Like I can't tell you how many things I can fix in the kitchen just for, you're gonna charge me $300 just to get here. I'll figure it out, man.
Yeah, especially on like a Sunday when everything's shut down.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a funny story actually. I worked for a restaurant for 10 years back in Ottawa, Ontario, and we opened up a new location, and the owner wanted me to go there as a manager / server trainer. So for the first few months, no one there had any idea that I cooked, except for I think 2 people that came from the location I came from. And there was a night, it was a Saturday night, and I hadn't cooked for like a couple of years because I'd been serving and managing. And there was a Saturday night where we had a new chef on the grill, and the kitchen manager was an ex-serving manager, because to become a GM, you have to be a kitchen manager first. So he didn't have any experience on the line. And all of a sudden I'm being told that there are 40-minute to an hour meal times, and we're supposed to have meal times out in 20. So I go back there. I'm like, yo, guys, what's going on here? And the manager was like, oh, he's new. He's new. So I'm like, he's new. That's an excuse. So I just put on a chef coat. I'm in a shirt and tie. I put on a chef coat and I get behind the line, and I shit you not, within like probably 20, 25 minutes, I got all the meal times back down to 20. I cooked 350 some odd meals. Not one thing came back over or undercooked. And while it was happening, I wasn't even thinking. It was just second nature. I got into it, and jack of all trades. Like, you learn other areas, but you don't forget what you already learned. And
I guarantee all those cooks are probably like, who the fuck is this guy coming back here? What? And then going, oh,
dude, afterward,
right.
It was like
Thanks,
the level of respect that was just given to me after that night, like, just changed the whole atmosphere of how my work went after that.
Right.
Because servers and kitchen staff were all just like, oh, dude, that guy's got it. And when you're in a kitchen, you need to learn all the other aspects.
Absolutely.
You need to know what it's like to be in all of their different shoes.
Kitchen's the heart of the restaurant, but you need everything.
Absolutely.
You need every busboy, you need every dishwasher, you need every bread boy, butter curler, whatever. It's all a part of the machine.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize the importance of a team.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Instant gratification is definitely what is swallowing up our society right now. I agree with you on that one. And when you think about working in a restaurant, the amount of work that it takes for the customer to get the instant gratification is something that they should actually think about.
Right.
Because like you said, naming all of those people that are on that team, it takes all of them working more than just the shift they're on in order for that customer or that client to receive this wonderfully gorgeous looking plate of something that they eat in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. And they shit it out tomorrow.
Exactly. Instant gratification. What are some other things or what would you say are some of the toughest aspects of you achieving your success?
Work-life balance.
Okay.
I mean, that was always it's always been a struggle.
Right.
Especially when you start to actually have a life outside of work, which I didn't have for forever. It was just work. And I mean, I was fine with it. Never questioned it, never crossed my mind.
Because it was fun.
Right. And even when I met my now wife at the time, my girlfriend, she was a hostess, and I was a dirtbag in the kitchen, just chasing after her. And I mean, good for her. Love her to death, always will. And she's, even when we were opening restaurants throughout, I mean, Jesus, up to about 3 years ago, I was still doing it. I mean, work was my life.
Yeah. And
she didn't have to like it. She got it. She understood it, but she didn't like it. And then having kids and having to show your child that you'll be there for them, that was one of the biggest struggles.
Yeah.
So it was, talk about not having time and all that stuff. Yeah, you have no time. Getting home at midnight, not going to bed until 2 in the morning just to wind down, then having to wake up at 6 to take your daughter to school or to do something on the weekends. And, that's what's rough.
Maximizing the 24 hours in a day and yet still being able to sleep. So some people say that men can actually survive off of less sleep than women can.
I believe it.
I mean, I know a lot of women that take a lot of naps, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, fuck, if I could nap throughout the day, I would do it. But men typically, they say like 4 to 6 hours.
That's about right.
They're good. And I got to be honest with you, like on average, I want to say 6 hours of sleep. If I'm lucky, I would say 6 hours in my bed is what I get of actual sleep. I would say, yeah, probably consistent, maybe 4 to 5 hours.
Yep.
And you get up and you get the shit done. You go after your dream. You go after your passion. I don't have kids, but those friends of mine who do, they say the same thing. And I love the fact that you all say the same thing. I work hard and I spend a lot of time doing that, but then you always use examples about being there for your kids. I grew up, my father worked 7 days a week. Every single day he worked, some days later than others, but he still managed to be there. Like, I played football in high school. He wasn't there for practices, but he was there for the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like, that's all I think a kid really needs, is to see that there's the effort there. And the fact that that's like one of your priorities, and the fact that you literally admitted, like, Top Chef, not once, but twice, reached out to you and you were good to go. But then it was like, no, my priority is my kid.
Right.
And that's what's more important to me. I don't need the instant gratification of finding out that I'm good enough to be on a TV show, because I already know I am. I'm killing it in this cooking thing. But I have a wife and I have a kid on the way, and that's what's more important to me. And I think the value in that, without a doubt, way higher than going on a show and winning.
Yeah, I mean, there were times like I said, worked all the time, and just to show my daughter that I gave a shit, was like, they would have at her schools. Like, I'd never get to really any school functions. I could if I was able to, but hardly ever. But they would do, like, it's this appreciation month, or it's Rosh Hashanah, or whatever holiday. What can we do? So I make like latkes and applesauce and take them to the school. Like they did. It was some they celebrating Chinese ethnicity or something like that. So I made egg rolls.
Why not?
Took them to the school.
Yeah.
And if I could do anything, that's what it was. We invited her entire class to Cafe Boulud for a luncheon, and because they wanted to tour a kitchen. Come on in. So I had a group of fucking 4 or 5 year olds running through the kitchen at Cafe Boulud, and in this fancy Michelin-starred kitchen, we're making them chicken tenders and macaroni and cheese. Got a picture with everybody. I mean, it was great.
What a great feeling that was, though, right? Like, I mean, you were able to do this wonderful gesture for your child and for the school that they go to. You're getting the community of the school to witness what a great human being and father you are. And again, like, you're not earning any money from it. You're just earning that good feeling from doing that.
They're like, oh, we have like $200 to spend for like 40 kids. I'm like, whatever, keep it going,
Isn't that funny? So a lot of us, sorry, I have to adjust here. A lot of us in the cooking, when we're approached about doing something, I've been approached a few times to do the guest appearance at Datura 123.
Okay.
And, they're like, oh, you get, you do this, you get this money and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, yeah, but I mean, just donate the money to some kind of charity.
Right.
And the response was like, all of you chefs say the same thing. Is because you're giving us an opportunity to do what we love to do in an environment that's fun. We're not like, at this point in our life, we're not hard up for cash.
Right.
We've already gone through that struggle of having no money and getting paid very little. And now it's just like, well, you're giving us an opportunity to do something fun. So let's put the money somewhere else.
Yeah, you know, Jewel Bistro down here in Lake Worth.
No, I don't
Dak,
actually.
he was the original owner of Oceana Kitchen.
Okay.
Down in Lantana. He owned it when it was Pizza Oceano. And very, very humble dude, talented cook. And he you want to talk about, I do what I want.
Yeah.
That's the epitome of it. Great guys, but he's got some accolades. And he was doing a Shane dinner. And he calls me up. It's like, hey, I need a hired gun. I just need an extra hand in the kitchen that I know can do it.
Right.
So I'd go there and, all right, I need you to make this sauce and do this with the shrimp. Yes, chef, no problem. And then he'd go hand a wad of cash at the end. I'm like, oh, man, that was fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my kitchen. I just got to play for a couple of hours and talk to some people I haven't seen in a minute, you know?
It's really great when you get to that level where you're able to do that and you're not worried about the money anymore.
Right.
Like you said, like starting out in the kitchen, I was talking to Tice actually, I think maybe a day or two ago, we were talking about like minimum wage and whatnot, because, you know, everyone needs to have a job because you got to pay your bills and you got to, you know, as you're working your way up to that success, you still have responsibility. And I honestly couldn't remember what minimum wage was back home for me in Canada, but I know it wasn't much. And I remember my chefs in culinary school, you know, would talk to me on the side because I was the oldest person. I was 27 and everyone else was like 18. And they would say, so you realize that, like, with this degree, what you're going to get? And I was like, well, no, what do you mean? He's like, so, like, without the degree, you know, minimum wage is $11 an hour for a cook. Let's just throw a number out there. I was like, okay, yeah. And then when I graduate, they're like, yeah, you're going to get $11 an hour. I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make any fucking sense. He's like, you still have to work your way up.
Yeah, so it gets your foot in the door.
Yeah. All it does is show the person that's going to hire you that you have some knowledge of how to make food. But now you have to go in there and show them that you can not only make food, but you can take direction, you can do things on time, and you can show up. Then you might work your way up in the money aspect.
Yeah, that was John Gladchuck, the first chef I worked for. That was one of his pieces of advice. He was like, you're not going to make shit for money. He was like, chefs don't even get thank yous. Like, you're looking for a pat on the ass, you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I get it. And he was like, and if you do a good job, money will come. He's like, always remember that. So I have never, still to this day, I have never approached any boss or owner or whatever and said, hey, I need more money. You know, they're always like, hey, we'll take care of it. It's like, I got it. You know, it'll come. I'm confident it'll come.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think that's an excellent point for everyone out there to understand is if you do good work, the money will come.
And I think that's a bit of a like naivety of like a lot of young cooks. Like, oh, I'll just leave. This place will crash. No, ship will always sail, man.
There's
It'll
15 other
sail.
people walking up to the door right now that want to have an entry-level job to work their way up in a kitchen.
It'll always sail.
Yeah. That's where I think you and I were fortunate enough to obviously be trained by people that were smart enough to make us realize that ego is not allowed.
Yeah. And I don't like working for those people.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I got lucky for the first time when it came to schooling. Growing up in grade school and high school, I always had like, you know, there's the nice teachers and then there was the older, not so nice teachers. And I always had those ones and I always had a rough time. But then when I got to culinary school, I had all of the great teachers. All of them that understood yelling wasn't important. All of them understood that, like, if they noticed someone was working hard, that, oh, maybe I can give them a little more direction. And that's what I had. I was so thankful because those chefs changed my life forever. I still remember their names. Would they remember me? I have no idea because obviously they're, you know. But you brought up an interesting topic, which was, you just said in a sentence, which was like-minded people. I think that's such an important thing while you grow as an individual. And I don't want to say a certain age in life because everyone grows at different times. But
sometimes, if not at all.
Unfortunately, some don't. When you're growing as an individual, to realize this point, surround yourself with like-minded people is so important because if you don't, you're not going to move forward in life.
Correct.
You clearly, by all of the people that I've heard you talk about today, have always solidified yourself around individuals who are masters at their craft or becoming masters at their craft, who want to become
forward thinkers
outside of the box, who want more out of life.
Yes.
And you've been able to be sustainable in the idea of going after more forever.
Yes. And that's why, honestly, I mean, to a fault, I think that's not to a fault, but it's my circles. It's a small circle. Like there's only a handful of people that I keep in contact with that I consider close friends.
Right.
You know, I mean, not saying anything bad, but there was a lot of people that I've just, you know, grown away from.
So we have a lot of individuals that come into our lives that don't necessarily add any positive forward motion.
Right.
Not to say that they're bad people, not to say that they weren't valued at that time that they were in your life, but as one grows, you must surround yourself with those who want to grow as well. And if you don't, you're going to be stagnant. You're going to get anchored into the ground. You're going to become complacent. You're not going to get the things that you want out of life, unless that's what you want out of life.
Right.
If you want to wake up and go to your 9 to 5 and come home and watch TV and eat and go to sleep, and that's fine.
It sounds awful.
It sounds awful. Yeah. I'm not upset with it. If you need to do it, great. While you're doing it, watch the Lyfe Choyces podcast, please. But if you want more out of life, surround yourself with people that want more. All of the people I associate with, and you know them all, it's a very small group. There's like, on a regular basis, there's 5 or 6 people that I hang out with regularly. Outside of that, maybe an additional 3 or 4 if schedules coincide. But every single one of them owns a company. Yeah. There's not one of them that does not own something. You know what I'm saying? Or is not going after something. Right. You know, even Tice, that, you know, our viewers don't get to see all the time because he's always behind the scenes. He's going after his own company. You know, he wants to do this filming and editing for a career, for a lifestyle, and he's going after it right now. He's physically doing it so that he can get there. And a great portion of the people he hangs out with currently, now that he lives down in South Florida, are the people that I associate with. So he has a group of older men that are all business owners. And which better people to be around when you're thinking of starting a business? Right. Like-minded people. If you're not around them, clearly you don't become successful. Yeah,
I mean, I do still have people that I grew up with that I consider close, dear friends. And, you know, I'm horrible with correspondence to begin with. But, you know, when you do see them, you know, 5-10 years later, you just pick up right where you left off, you know, and it's like the time never went. Yeah. You know, and those are the type of people that I do keep in my life.
Yeah, it's hard to stay. Life gets busy. We all get busy. We have careers, we have jobs, we have things we're building. Some have families and children. Going back to what you said way in the beginning of the episode about Facebook, I also wasn't on it for the first couple of years. And I didn't even know how to use it when I got it. I foolishly put up a profile photo of me and a girl that I had a crush on, but she was dating someone, and I had to call someone else to be like, yo, how do I get this fucking photo down? Like before more people see, like, how do I get this down? And that the individual helped me and we got it down. But I started getting in contact with people that I knew in high school. And so when I joined Facebook, I think I would have been like almost late 20s.
Yeah, that's about right.
And all of a sudden these people started like hitting me up. Oh God, I've been looking for you. Haven't found you. And one of them, this gentleman, Scott Rosenthal, who I knew in high school when I was in youth group, we stayed in touch. Now, I'm not around him all the time. I don't communicate constantly with him. But over the years, he has come to Florida at a time in which that I was actually in port and I was actually had time off, and we met up at Roxy's and had like, dude, we hadn't seen each other in like 14 years or something like that. And it was as if not one day had passed. Right. And
those are special people in your life.
Those are people that literally meant something. And then, you know, through Lyfe Choyces, not Lyfe Choyces, the podcast, I was traveling to different places with my team. And we went to LA to do some content filming. And sure enough, who was the first person I contacted? Because he lived there. Actually, no, go back another time. I was dating a girl and we went on a vacation to LA. And I hit him up and we hung out. Then years later, I did Lyfe Choyces and we went to LA again. And again, I hit him up. So we've only seen each other like 3 or 4 times over the past 15 years. Yeah. But every time we do.
Yeah, I'm actually going out to dinner tonight with, I mean, it's not a happy story. A friend of mine just passed. And so I got a buddy of mine who's in town from Jersey who we were, I mean, close friends down here. We were skate rats and, you know, spent a lot of time together. So he's in town for the celebration of life that we just had, and we're going out to dinner tonight. And like I haven't seen him in 10 years. Yeah. And ran into him, went to him, saw him on Sunday, and it was just like, I mean, wish it was better circumstances, but
unfortunate circumstances do bring us together sometimes. But
I mean, it was great seeing him. We just started shooting the shit, and it's, you know, it's like like you just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
And to me, those people are special, and those are the ones that I will try to keep in my life.
Yeah. And again, you don't have to be in communication with them every day because you have that bond and because they are such great people and meant so much to you. They'll always be that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, those were the conversations that we had throughout the weekend. I was just like, it's just life, nothing. Yeah. I was reflecting like, why did we stop hanging out? Like what happened? But it just turned out to just,
Life.
Yeah. Life just happened. I mean,
Every
nothing
day.
bad. I mean, we're still great friends. I can still consider them dear friends, but it's just, he went this way, I went that way, and this person went that way. And it's just good to keep them, after this, I know now I check in on people a little bit more.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, it's just great to have those people that you can still call friends that you don't have to see every fucking day.
And that is a positive of social media right now, is that we live in a time where you can reconnect with people from your past if you want to. You are able to communicate with them easier. Even if you wanted to see them but can't go to their city or town or country, you can literally just open up your cell phone now and do a FaceTime. Right. So there's many positives to the social medias when it comes to that aspect. So you've had a very successful life here in South Florida. You've done tremendous things when it comes to cooking. You have a few projects kind of in the mix right now. We have Austin Republic, which is on its way, which I'm hoping, like I said,
we're shooting day after Patty's Day.
Get out of here.
We're shooting for actually serving some food the day after Patty's Day.
Okay, that means we're gonna get some test food happening soon here.
Christ, I hope so.
I mean, I've seen the electrician come by, the fire suppression person come by. Someone else came by the other day. Plumber, yeah. So Austin Republic, that's a Tex-Mex
barbecue.
Nice, and it's going to be at
South Dixie Highway, right across the street from Hallie's. 4801 South Dixie.
Perfect. We're going to have that all listed in the description below. And you're currently running Roxy's Pub still?
Not so much.
No?
Not so much. We brought in a bell because it started getting to the point where we got deep enough into this project that I would get hey, we need to go do this. And I couldn't say, no, I have to cook this cheeseburger. Yeah. So we had to bring somebody in to help out. So Abel's helping out tremendously over there.
Nice. Okay. And so Austin Republic's in the mix right now. We're going to get that launch day after St. Patty's Day. It'll be interesting.
That's I'm sticking to that fucking date.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see the comments in this podcast because when it actually posts, it'll be after St. Patty's Day. Okay. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. What is there anything in the mix for after that?
Yeah, there's actually a project right next door to Roxy's, which is a big one. I know the restaurant's going to be called Moonshiners.
Okay, Moonshiners.
Focus on craft cocktails.
Nice.
And that's still in the.
That's in the woodwork.
Yeah, that's in the planning. I mean, it's working now. I mean,
I'm super excited for this because John Webb, the owner of Roxy's and Austin Republic and then Moonshiners, been friends with him for quite some time. And I can remember like as far back as 10 years ago standing on Roxy's rooftop and he'd be like, Brad, come here. And we'd walk over to the edge and he was like, look over here. And then he would tell me his plans, his ideas as to what, and it's like literally I would hear that like time and time again. And literally we're in that moment now.
Yeah. And it's funny. I came into the fold a little bit later, but yeah, start just talking to people in the circles, having people in the pub, just random people that have just been coming to the pub for 20 years or whatever. Oh, he's been talking about that forever. It's never going to happen. And I'm like, I don't know. He's quite persistent. Yeah. He's quite sure that it's going to happen. Yeah. And then lo and behold,
he puts his mind to something and I mean, for those of us that know him very well, when he puts his mind to something, it's not if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when.
Absolutely.
It's just facts.
Yeah, you just got to sit back and enjoy the ride.
That's it. And he will get it done.
Yep.
He's not a quitter. He's someone that goes after whatever the fuck he wants.
I find it fun. Yeah. I find it a lot of fun because it's always something like this is my way of going, what am I walking into today?
Yeah.
What are we going to do today?
Yeah. Keeps life interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
That's amazing. Well, I'm super, super happy that you came by today. We've been talking about this for quite some time. Yep. We've now done a couple things together with Lyfe Choices, which is awesome. I'm sure we'll do many more in the future. Yep. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in this week to the Lyfe Choices podcast. I want to thank Jimmy, James, whichever one you want to call him, he'll answer.
My pleasure.
Even Leroy, right?
Yeah, Leroy.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And if anyone is not a subscriber yet, please scroll on down and don't forget to hit subscribe, comment, ring the bell so you can be notified about all upcoming things here on the Lyfe Choyces podcast. All of James' social media and restaurant projects in the mix will all be in the description down below. Once again, thank you everyone for taking the time out of your busy day to come here and listen to Lyfe Choyces podcast. We look forward to seeing you here next week and every week after that. James, thank you so much, sir. And we'll see everyone next time. Much love.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You are now about
The Journey, Lyfe Choyces podcast.